One of the most common questions I get, especially during the get it done weekends, is okay, but what does this actually look like in real life? Because knowing how the Pomodoro technique works is one thing, but setting it up in a way that fits your work, your energy, and your responsibilities is something else. So today I'm going to walk you through my Pomodoro setup, and it's the simple structure that I use and I teach so that the Pomodoro technique supports your day instead of complicating it. When the Pomodoro technique feels overwhelming, it's usually the setup. You've got maybe too many tools, too many rules you're trying to follow, or you've got too many expectations for what you're going to get done. So, simplicity is what makes this work, especially for women in business who are already juggling and managing so much. The tools I actually use. Let's start here because this surprises people. You don't need a fancy app. My setup is intentionally simple. There's a lot of Pomodoro timers out there. The one that I like the most is this one is a hexagonal timer. You put whatever time you want to do and it starts the timer. You have here your 25 minutes. You also have 5 and 3 minutes, or there's also a Pomodoro timer where it's going to take you through 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes off, 5 minutes off, all in one cycle. So I found this one works the best. It's really pretty basic compared to some other ones out there, and it's created especially for Pomodoros. I'll put the link to that particular timer in the description. The other thing that is really helpful for me when I am setting up my Pomodoros is my 90-day planner. Because in my planner each week, I take the time to create a weekly top 10. That's a list of the top 10 things that I want to focus on for that week. And as I make that weekly top 10 list, I then look at how many Pomodoros each item on that list will take. That way, I have a sense of how much time I need this week to complete the items on my weekly top 10. And oftentimes, as I do that, I might readjust the list if I feel like it's all going to take too much time. Then I might begin to move things to another week if I need to. I also really enjoy using the 30-day planner because this allows me to map out my day. And every single day, either whether I do it in the 30-day planner, you can also do it in the 90-day planner. There is a daily section for that here as well. What I do is I create a list for the day of Pomodoros. Now, not everything I put on the to-do list becomes a Pomodoro, but I will make the list and write next to each item, whether it's a Pomodoro or not. And also, I use the color coding that I talked about in other videos. If you haven't heard me talking about my color coded planning system, I'll drop the link to that system below as well so you can learn more about it. But I identify tasks primarily that are working on my business versus working in my business, which is the admin and the money making activities, so that I'm also making sure that I'm at least doing some things that are helping me grow and move my business forward every day, not just getting caught up in the day-to-day running and the hustle of the business. So my planners and the timer are what helps me stay on track when I'm running my day. By using those tools, I already have a list of what Pomodoros we're going to be doing. Now, at a Get It Done weekend, I do something very similar. I'm going to have the ladies at the beginning of that day go ahead and create and brainstorm and create a list of what they want to accomplish during the Get It Done weekend. We're going to look at that, break it into Pomodoros, and you can spend a 25-minute Pomodoro planning if you need to. In fact, one of the things that I do every day is my 25-minute daily planning, and that's my first Pomodoro of the day, pretty much every single day. That gives you a clear sense of expectation and allows you to be able to map out what you're going to do over the rest of the day and create and manage your expectations because, ladies, often things take 3 times longer than we think they do. And so when we start using Pomodoros and we start to track our expectations around, I think this will take 1 Pomodoro this will take 2. And then when we clearly see that it takes less or more, we learn how to manage our time better, which is a huge asset to us as we move forward and we plan out our future days. How do I decide how many Pomodoros to do each day? Because I don't run Pomodoros all day long. As I mentioned already, I decide in advance how many focused Pomodoros I have the energy for that day. I make a list of all the things that I want to do that day, and then I break it down into the things that will be Pomodoros. And then I add that up, and then I look at my day and I start to map out when can I fit in these 30 minutes, because it's 25 minutes plus the 5-minute break. When can I fit these in? Typically, I'm going to want to cluster Pomodoros together because there's a momentum that happens when you do that. So I want to put 3 or 4 Pomodoros together, of course, with the 5-minute break in between, and then have a longer break. So typically, I'm not going to do more than 6 or 7, 8 at the very most Pomodoros in one day. And I'm going to look at how they're going to fit best into my day. When I start doing that step, it's way for me to have a check and balance to see if my expectation of what I want to get done is going to fit into the day. Because sometimes when I start to put it on the calendar for the day that I'm stepping into, I realize what I have planned isn't going to fit into the day. And I have to make adjustments for that. But it's much better to decide that at the beginning of the day and to go into the day with clear expectations. I'm going to do 5 Pomodoros, solid ones, rather than feeling like I'm going to push myself to do 7 and then end up over-promising and under-delivering, which always feels bad. I'm also going to look at when different Pomodoros fit best into my day, because some tasks I'm going to enjoy doing more in my prime time in the morning when my brain is active and energized, rather than later in the afternoon. What I've learned is the later afternoon is really a good time for doing brainless tasks that don't take a lot of energy, or maybe even tasks that involve me moving around a little bit, because that creative thinking and visionary work I'm best doing in the morning. So I've learned my natural rhythm, and I'm going to put my Pomodoros onto my day with that in mind as well. When you do this and you underpromise, it allows you to create natural stopping points for yourself throughout the day, which often when we're running our own schedule, we don't have if we don't create this kind of structure. Everything just kind of bleeds together. And so what I love about the Pomodoro technique is that it allows you to create structure for yourself. Even on days where I don't have any clients, where I don't have any actual appointments with anyone else, I can still create a rhythm and a structure that allows me to create some really nice momentum and really focus in on some of the tasks that I want to accomplish. I also have learned that not everything is a Pomodoro. So when I'm writing a book, if I'm struggling to write and I've been putting it off, then I might create a Pomodoro to get started on chapter 1 and write the first 3 pages. However, once I'm in the groove with a creative project like that, or if I'm making videos, for example, I'm not necessarily going to use the Pomodoro technique for that, because when we're doing creative work, sometimes when we have the pressure of a timer, it can crush our creativity and be counterproductive. So I'm very aware of learning and experimenting with the type of tasks that I create as Pomodoros and the type of tasks which thrive better when they're not put inside a container. Let's talk about the biggest challenge, right? Interruptions. How do you handle interruptions? Interruptions happen. The goal isn't to be perfect. It's just to be aware. If something truly urgent comes up, I'm going to pause the Pomodoro. And if it's not urgent, I'm going to write down what the interruption is, and then I'm going to go back to focusing. And you'll learn how to manage your distractions as you become more aware of them. There are times when I'm going to stop a Pomodoro, and I'm just fine with that. If you stop a Pomodoro, remember a Pomodoro is indivisible, then that Pomodoro doesn't count anymore. When you start it again, you start from the beginning, from minute 1. The other day, my daughter was home from college. She's spending a couple of days with us, and I was enjoying having her here. I haven't seen her in a few weeks. I started a Pomodoro where I was reviewing one of my programs that I have, and I got about 10, 12 minutes into the Pomodoro, and she came into my office and sat down with her breakfast, and immediately I stopped the Pomodoro. I didn't feel guilty about that. I made a clear decision that I was quite happy not doing that in that moment. You're going to learn when a distraction needs to be leaned into and taken care of, or when you want to be available for someone, like I was with my daughter. And you're going to learn when distractions can be tabled and paused so that you can finish your Pomodoro. Pomodoros are really good at helping you figure out what your distractions are. It's helping you create boundaries, not more discipline. Now let's look at, how do you know when you're done, right? So how do you know you've done enough? It's such an important question, especially for the ladies that I work with. We're never done, right? There's always more to do. So how do you feel that sense of completion at the end of each day when nothing is ever finished and there's always more to do? Well, that is the beauty of Pomodoros, because if you, as I encouraged you to do in the beginning of this video, set a clear number of Pomodoros that you're going to finish during the day, then you know once you've completed those Pomodoros, you've completed your day. So let's say that you want to do 7 Pomodoros and it's a pretty light day and there's not much else going on except those Pomodoros. If you knock out those Pomodoros and you're done by 1 o'clock, then maybe your day's done. Maybe you've accomplished enough. I think using the Pomodoro technique gives you more time freedom and more boundaries so that you can acknowledge, I've done enough. And you can stop work. Notice your energy levels. Start to build and schedule your Pomodoros around your natural energy and your natural rhythm. Acknowledge what you're finishing in and what you're accomplishing in each Pomodoro, and track the Pomodoros you're doing, but also what you got accomplished in each one. And when you plan out your day at the beginning of the day, and you know exactly how many Pomodoros that you're going to accomplish, it eliminates that feeling of guilt. I give you full permission to let go of that guilt, that feeling of, I'm just going to do one more. You're going to stop cleanly. You're going to protect your momentum. You're going to pat yourself on the back and create more momentum tomorrow. With the right setup, the Pomodoro technique is going to become a rhythm for you. It's going to help you create more boundaries around your time, especially when you run your own schedule. It's going to be a way for you to finish work without dragging it out, because it makes it a game. There's some things which I don't have to do perfectly. And if I say I'm going to finish it in a Pomodoro in 25 minutes, I can get it done. I'm always surprised. I just wrote 12 video scripts and I completed 8 of them in one Pomodoro. And in my mind, it was going to take a lot longer than that. So sometimes you're going to surprise yourself that you can actually gamify things and create more productivity. And in other scenarios, you're going to realize that you've been overpromising, and you're going to realize that you need to make your tasks or your Pomodoros more specific and smaller so that you can accomplish them in the 25 minutes. This is why setup of your Pomodoro technique matters more than most people think. So if you want help setting all of this up and keeping it in mind, make sure you download the Pomodoro cheat sheet. I've dropped the link in the description. It's going to walk you through planning, running, and reviewing your Pomodoros in a way that's simple and supportive. And if you're wondering whether you even need to use the Pomodoro technique, is it right for you? Is it the right tool? When is it right? When it's not? You'll want to watch Do You Really Need the Pomodoro Technique to Stay Focused video that I made. That video is going to help you decide when Pomodoros support you and when something else might work better. I created this YouTube channel for women in business who want inspiration, momentum, and real strategy, not just pressure and pushing. If that sounds like you, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. I add new videos every single week. And please keep in mind, you don't need to do everything to move forward. One focused Pomodoro done well can change the tone of your entire day. I'll see you in momentum.